wanted to talk about Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, one of the original 13 American colonies, an area of 46,054 square miles located in mid-Atlantic region of the U.S. Uh, Pennsylvania has a major harbor on the Delaware River and one of the world's busiest shipping centers. Not surprising due to having two metropolitan areas, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. As modern and well known as some of these areas are, Pennsylvania has one of the largest rural populations in the U.S., with nearly one-third uh, of their land still being used for farming, agriculture. Most surprising fact to me is the official state motto: virtue, liberty, and independence. From what I know, it doesn't seem like that, and tons of other people that would agree with that. So my guest today would like to see these values ring true again. So I'd like to introduce you to Matt Hackenberg, the gubernatorial candidate for the LP in the state of Pennsylvania. How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Oh, there we go. Couldn't hear you. Now we can.
Good deal. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. How's it going today? And we were kind of just talking off camera for a minute. What made you want to run for governor? Which, good for you. Most people don't, but it takes a special type of person to run for office.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people misunderstand me when I say like I don't want to run for governor, but I don't mean that as in I don't want to do this or I'm doing this against my will. It's I abhor politics. I abhor the state. I abhor government. I think it's all twisted and corrupt, and I hate politicians, and that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. But this is a thing that runs common amongst libertarians, which is a huge part of the problem. So I see this more as a duty, as a responsibility, for my children and for my fellow countrymen, that we need to have someone who is steadfast and dedicated to promoting the message of liberty and not just putting my nose up people's butts and trying to make people happy. People need to hear what they need to hear, and now is the time that needs to be done.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Do you want to give a rundown, kind of just like what the climate is of your state, kind of what you guys have been facing the past, I don't know, decade or so?
Well, I mean, it like you mentioned, Pennsylvania is a big state. The culture varies wildly depending where you are in the state. So, like Philadelphia, I mean, I live in eastern Pennsylvania, so that's the bulk of my experience. But I'm about an hour or so north of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a lot of it is people from New Jersey, people from the east. It has very much that kind of metropolitan East Coast feel, very yuppie, kind of like bougie feel, and all that goes along with it. But not too far outside of that, it becomes very rural very quickly, and it becomes very conservative, very kind of Trump country type thing, and that's my experiences through that way through bulk of the state. And Pittsburgh, the opposite side of the state, is very much the same way. It's a big college town. There's a lot of industry, a lot of development, and then not too far, it very quickly turns into, again, rural country, and people who largely want to be left alone. But we have to be directed to live our lives by these little small enclaves of urban hellholes, and that's, as I'm sure most Americans are familiar with and have experienced in their own states. You have these few densely populated areas that drive the politics for an entire state, and people, the rest of us, we're being told how to live our lives in a completely different area, completely different culture, completely different demographic, and it's the same way in Pennsylvania.
So, what was the community's response to COVID? The lockdown measures, government enforcing their will on everyone.
Well, I think it was pretty common at first. The pretty standard at first, where everyone was concerned and sort of followed the rules, and they tuned into the TV in the morning to hear what they're allowed to do from the governor, and our governor was particularly draconian. He tried to be like his buddies to the east in New Jersey and New York, but there's a little bit more of a cultural pushback. At least where I am, more like the Northeast and the Poconos area, there was less tolerance, I think, for it. And so, I mean, I didn't see. We stopped wearing masks. My wife and I stopped wearing masks maybe before the end of 2020, and didn't really get much pushback or much say about it, even though it was against the rules. But I don't care. I do what I want. And so I think that culturally wise, again, it's outside of the urban areas and city areas, people don't go along with these rules. The governor's say is less push on it. We did, as a state, we did push through and get passed a referendum, an amendment to our state constitution to limit the governor's powers to exercise these state of emergencies. But as a libertarian, and the Rothbardian tradition, like, I understand that these constitutions and things are a little more than a gentleman's agreement. So we can pass whatever rules we want, and the governor is going to go and do whatever he wants. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the people saying, "No, I'm not doing this." And fortunately, like I said, where I live, we have a lot of pushback, in the schools, a lot of pushback just in general in the community. Just we're not following these rules. And I think it's important that we, as liberty lovers and people who have backed by this philosophy and these ideas, to promote these things and give the leadership to others to say, no, go fuck off, and I'm going to do what I want, because it's not another man's job to tell you who's essential and who's not essential, whether you should muzzle yourself or your children, and etc. So I honestly, during COVID, I never traveled down to the city. I try to avoid the Philly area and as much as I can, but so I really can't say how it was there. But we have friends down there who are members of the LP. Don't Tread on Philly was created by members of the LPPA, and they've got to face quite the brunt of it, including vaccine mandates and horrible draconian things. So we're fortunate up where we live, we don't have that as much, but there are parts of the state where they've gone try to go full totalitarian.
Yeah, that's just wild. I mean, just watching every state, all the governors, doesn't matter what side,
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Whatever they're trying to pretend to be, it was interesting. Let's get to you a little bit. How old are you? Did you always grow up in Pennsylvania? Big family, small family, that kind of stuff?
So let's see, I'm 36, 37, something like that. Got to do the math. But I was actually born and raised in New Jersey, right over the river. And my wife and I fled the People's Republic in about 2013. So we've been here almost 10 years. We came here, like I said, largely to flee the onerous laws of New Jersey, one of the strictest gun law states in the nation. Horrible taxes and so on. So we came here very appreciative of the liberties we do have, and we lived in a more rural area. We live half an hour from the nearest grocery store, so we have quite a bit of liberty where we are. But and it's important to us to share these things, people to understand these values of what it's like to not have the liberty. I'm an only child. My mother is an immigrant. She fled the Soviet Union with her parents. So I was raised with this idea that the authoritarian government is horrible, and the government can never solve your problems. The only thing the government can do is destroy and take, and never create and never build. And the only solution to these things is one of love and caring for each other. So and so many Americans have had such sheltered lives. They don't experience that, so they don't understand that. Let's see, I'm a computer engineer by trade. I make little lights blink and circuit boards and things like that. I spent some time in the Army National Guard, which is A wonderful experience. I mean, I abhor war and the foreign entanglements of the United States, and one of my big things is pushing the Defend the Guard Act in the state of Pennsylvania, because the what's done in the National Guard in terms of harms it causes to kids, and in my experience there is I joined later in life as an adult. I joined, and um, I was a commissioned officer, and I interact a lot with younger kids, playing like a mentor role. And it really struck me how abusive this system is and how abusive this program is. That really impacted me. uh, so that's a major part of why I run, because why I'm running is for that purpose, especially with our brilliant leaders trying to stoke World War III with total disregard for the American lives they're going to send to die for that. So that was a huge impact on me. And between that and so we moved out here and live our life for be free, and never really getting involved in politics until the COVID thing happened. And then we have to step up and do something for the sake of our kids.
Word. Yeah, that was pretty much me. Up to this point, it was really just, the libertarian kind of wanted to be left alone. I mean, I like other libertarians, but I just never saw myself becoming political in that sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the last 2 years, little over 2 years, has just, it's been a radicalization more than anything.
Yeah.
These people won't stop, and it's our responsibility to vote them out of office. Although I don't think that they would go peacefully.
No.
So,
to that effect, I mean, I went into end of 2019. I was an anarchist, and I'd been an anarchist for quite some time. Since at least leaving the army, I was considered myself an anarchist then. And the amount of radicalization that I went through in 2020 is unbelievable. I don't know how I can go from being considered myself an anarchist to being unbelievably radicalized beyond that. And I don't mean that in the violence way. I just mean like, wow, this thing is way more corrupt and broken and disenfranchising than I ever could have imagined. Never could imagine how terrible it is. And you see it now that these people, they legitimately do not care about you. They don't care about your kids. They don't care about your family. They will send you off into boxcars, send you to gas chambers to die if it serves them politically. If it gains them profit and power, they don't care. And it's shocking. It's truly shocking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, to me, almost what's more shocking is the people that turn around and just deny it.
Yeah.
Refuse to see it.
Right.
I can't.
Yeah. The medical profession, especially, my wife is a nurse, and she is, greatly disturbed by what she saw, because people that she respected, they basically just turn off their brain and go along with these things that they should know doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. Things that, if you discuss this with them logically, a year prior, they would have totally agreed with you. But now, during this mania, this hysteria, all these otherwise intelligent people just believe these things, which are totally ludicrous. And it's terrifying when you think that the medical profession that is this field that we put up on a pedestal, and we depend on for their intellectual superiority, and we just turn off our brains and we accept whatever they say as the word of God. And it's that we've exposed ourselves to an enormous vulnerability and enormous risk, just trusting these people who are just as fallible as the rest of us, and they're so easily persuaded by just a little peer pressure, and they'll believe any little true ghost stories you tell them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a lot, like I'm still processing, honestly, the last 2 years. There's just so much to take in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm shocked that people just so willingly just bent over, and just said, "Yep, this is just how things are." I mean, I'm shocked some people still wear masks. I'm shocked that like people were so hostile to others just for making their own decision. It was, like I said, I'm still trying to process it, and there's a whole lot coming out every single day. But as soon as I started hearing mandatory or forcing, making a law or anything like that, I got real tense real quick and said, "Oh, okay, I think we're done. I'm not putting up with that."
Yeah.
So it's one thing to believe whatever you want. I can go home and think whatever I want about you. But once you start forcing things on me, it's a little bit different. So what led you to libertarianism, unlike one of the other parties or no party?
So I first started calling myself a libertarian probably back during the DC Heller case. Reading a Volokh Conspiracy and just a group of more like DC libertarian lawyer types. It was very interesting. And then I got caught up into the Ron Paul campaign, first in 08 and then in 12. And that really introduced me more into the more, Rothbardian and Misesian school of libertarian thought. And that didn't really, it kind of percolated for a little bit. And it wasn't until I think I discovered Tom Woods, a number of years later, maybe 2015 or so, maybe 2014. I don't know. When I basically started listening to his podcast when he first started his podcast, basically from the beginning. And then he got me reading more in Rothbard and really just kind of put me over the top in terms of like, this is all brilliant. This is brilliant philosophy, these brilliant ideas. And I largely rejected party politics and getting involved in politics. And in the Libertarian Party, I always considered a joke. Nothing to do with it. And it wasn't until the Mises Caucus, started trying to come about and based on these same ideas to bring this greater liberty movement into the party and enact change in the party. And what was happened now in the past year with the Mises Caucus and the amount of change we've taken, at least in the LPPA, from what I've seen, what I've experienced, has been incredible, absolutely incredible. The LPPA has exploded in membership and activity. We now have over 50 people running for state office, and it's really exciting to see like what a bunch of people who are serious about this idea, and they're backed by these good solid ideas, these solid principles, and very professional, serious people, and it's like truly exciting. But before this, never would have been involved with the Libertarian Party, not in a million years.
So some of my listeners are definitely, LP members, Mises Caucus members. Some of them, I would say actually most of them probably are just unfamiliar. They're just breaking into it.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain why so many people felt the need to even create a caucus? Kind of just what's going on.
So I guess what's kind of happened over the years, you can go way back, the history of the Libertarian Party, and the divide between the Cato Institute and Murray Rothbard, and he was kind of forced out from the party, and then much of the people of the Rothbard tradition. Rothbard is considered like the godfather or the grandfather of modern libertarianism, and basically that Ron Paul kind of flavor of libertarianism. He got pushed out of the party, and it's kind of this divide that's existed ever since. And over the past maybe 20 years or so, the party has been taken over and run by more this DC kind of flavor of just politics, of this fiscally conservative and socially liberal libertarian, where it's just like, well, I want to legalize weed and lower taxes. and it's not based on any kind of underground like principles or philosophy, or understanding, really deep understanding of like Austrian economics. So you have a lot of these people who, at least like from my involvement is more at the state level. So LPPA is usually when I'm talking about LP, I'm talking about LPPA. And people who I would say is that they're LARPing politics. These are people who could never cut it in a major party, but they want to play politician on the weekend. So they join the LP and they go play politics, and they have their little talking points, and they go out and about and do their little thing, and they go, I'm running for governor and I'm running for Senate, and it's all a big joke. And So the greater liberty movement, then people who, a lot of people who were followed Ron Paul or like Harry Brown before him, and people who were interested in these ideas of liberty, a far larger body of people than the people who were involved with party politics. We want nothing to do with this, and they won't, just understandably so. And then I guess Michael Heiss came around and said, I'm going to make a caucus to just promote these ideas, just the general ideas of what libertarianism is as a philosophy, and bring these into the party, and has worked as a rallying point for members of the liberty movement and brought them into the party. And it just enacted this huge cultural change. It's like I said, it's been truly awe-inspiring. These people who have been here that have no basis of understanding of the libertarian philosophy, these people who are just want to legalize weed, man. They're either figuring out coming on board, or they're spewing a lot of hate and rage quitting, and it's unfortunate. But we would love to see everyone stay. They want to work with us, but a lot of people are, their egos are burned and their egos are hurt. They can't hang it. They can't handle it. So they're going to leave. They leave, and it's made the party a better place, honestly. But like I said, truly, truly impressive what it's becoming.
So that's definitely one of the biggest criticisms I hear from people who aren't even involved in the LP. Typically, it's always just the infighting. I get that. That's why I wasn't involved forever.
Right.
As an outsider looking in, it looked terrible, and they're not winning races. So, like, why do I want to be a part of that? What interested me personally was just people showing up and actually doing something. I was all game for it. I was like, all right, what are we doing? Where are we going?
Yep.
My personal belief is that I agree kind of with the sentiment that it is up to the individual to decide a certain amount of what libertarian is for the individual. It's not what libertarian is, it's what libertarian is not. And there's very clear things that it's not, and that's when you favor the state. Right. Some of those people, I don't understand how you could be a libertarian socialist or libertarian communist. A thin or thick libertarian. I'm still unfamiliar with the idea behind it. I don't even think the big L and little L thing is really a thing, actually. So with all of this, appearance to everyone on the outside, how would you sell it to people to come in now, regardless of what they believe?
So a big push that I've been gunning for, and also part of my messaging towards talking to people outside the party, and which I've only really just started to do, has been more of this idea of that, like, we're a new party, and that this is a new thing, and we're we're being rebranded in a sense. Especially, I've been big on reaching out to more of the more of the the right wingers, the conservatives, the disenfranchised Trump supporters, these guys who just want to be left alone and do their own thing. They have the inherent basic idea of liberty at heart, but they've been led astray by a lifetime of indoctrination and propaganda. And kind of reaching out to them and saying, like, look, a lot of these leftist elements that have come and infected the party, we've been and driving them to quit and driving them to leave. And because it's libertarianism is not about these things about guys running naked across the stage and things like that. This is about you have to have on individual liberty on one side and personal responsibility on the other. This is inherently it's an inherently self-determined philosophy and self-determined idea. And I think a lot of these guys, like, the idea of personal responsibility rings well with a lot of typical conservatives who are not so much interested in the idea of libertarian, or turned off by the ideas of libertarian from what they've seen in the past. So we believe in personal responsibility just as much as we believe in individual liberty. Then also, things like this idea that, like, look, we can all see it now that the state does not care about us. They do not give a flying shit about you or your family. And it is upon each and every one of us to stand up and take back our rights that are ours. That the Constitution that, many have grown to love and hold in high regard is little more than a gentleman's agreement. And if the party on the other side of that agreement aren't holding up their side of the bargain, then it's upon us to say, we need to walk away from this table, and we need to stand up and say, like, no more. And that's all we need to do, is just say no more. We don't have to fight. We don't have to get into violence or anything else. All we have to do is refuse to comply, and that will leave the state completely powerless. So I promote this message to to everyone, but like where I am now, and just kind of reaching out first initially is, like I said, to more the disenfranchised conservative type, and trying to get this idea that, look, this is a new face of the party, and we're a new thing, and that your Republican Party isn't going to change. It's not going to help you. It's you see how broken it is. Why keep voting for one party or the other? Just you need to exit the system, and do that by supporting a political party who's actually promoting your values and the things that you want in life, and or at least not promoting that you should have things that you don't want in life forced upon you. And it's received great reception so far. People I've talked to, has been phenomenal. So I'm really helpful. I'm really hopeful that it's going to go well. I mean, even I've interacted and talked with a few people more on the traditional left, and same thing. We've gotten pretty good reception. Just explaining, like, look, this is all controlled by big corporations. It's all controlled by the money and the seek for power. These politicians, they're not your friend. They're conniving and manipulative, and they're going to rob and steal from you. And the same thing, it kind of gets to them. It kind of rings true. So I think the biggest hurdle is defeating this idea, this fake, this professional wrestling kind of mantra that we have in politics today, where it's the R versus D, left versus right, and try to explain, like, no, it's not that. It's none of that. It's all us versus the ruling class. And unless people realize that and stand up to the ruling class, it's going to be a downhill slide from here.
So I don't know. I don't want people to leave, right? Like, I don't think, I mean, I don't know. It's everyone's choice at this point. What I want is more liberty for myself, first and foremost, my family, my friends, everyone else in my community. Of course, there's a hierarchy to that. I understand some people reject that, and I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Hierarchy is just how life is structured.
Yes.
The natural order of things. So,
right.
If I don't know, I want everybody to be a better libertarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what upsets me personally in the party. I don't care about the criticisms. I care about why you're criticizing.
Right.
Are you criticizing to slander or to knock me down, which is not helping anything or anyone? Or are you criticizing me because I had a bad take and I need to be better and I should strive to be better? Why are you criticizing me? And honestly, that's why I criticize a lot of these people. I mean, there's certain people at the top, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden. Fuck these monsters. Like, I just don't hold them in any regard. No. But anyone else, there's a certain amount of, just be a better person or go away, do something, but stop this. There's a lot of nuance to each individual. So
yeah,
ultimately, how do you think this is going to go? Your race, the party, pretty much all of this. Are we actually going to be spreading liberty for everyone?
Well, I mean, it's I think one of the biggest things I've found, the biggest challenges that hold us back is the ego, right? A lot of people they attach themselves to these identities, whether it be Republican or Democrat or something else. And for you to attack or challenge the identity is attacking them at a deep, deep level, and it causes people to do these ridiculous things and have these ridiculous reactions, as cognitive dissonance and this total bizarre behavior, which is pretty common. So I don't know how to best counteract that, other than just repetition, and let people accept the reality of how it is. Now, as far as our individual race goes, I mean, I have no illusions that I will ever be given the seat of power of any way. I'm not approved, and if I were to somehow actually win a race, I'm sure they would take me for a convertible ride through Harrisburg, if you will. So I have no illusions there. The greatest thing we can do is really enact cultural change and use this as a platform to promote that. People need to understand that it's up to them. There's not going to be any man on a white horse riding in to save them. It's a matter of each and every community, each individual, to say, nah, bro, I'm not doing this anymore. And for this to happen, for this to change, I'm very optimistic. As much as I might sound dark and dismal at times, I'm actually incredibly white pilled. I've during the Trump years, I mean, I thought the liberty movement was dead, and I like, oh man, this sucks. This is gonna be the new thing. But since then, I think we're the inevitable. I think our ideas are the inevitable future, and I think the state's days are numbered. I think the idea of the nation state is going to end. I think we are going to see a radical change in the way the world works, the way people interact with each other, and people are just going to accept that. It might not happen, today or tomorrow. It might take a little time. But I think with the way things have come about, the way information is exchanged, and people talk to each other, people communicate with each other today, that the end of the current the empire of the nation state is drawing near. We're coming upon a new enlightenment where people realize that we have fallen into this era of total enslavement, and that everything we know is a lie, and that people are starting to wake up, and it's very, very reassuring to see. When you see like CNN's viewership, their ratings are abysmal compared to like some YouTubers. It's laughable, and this is victory. Victory is coming upon us, and that's why we as the Libertarian Party, just the libertarian philosophy, we need to be there to explain to people like what's going on. Why can't you afford to feed your family right now? Why can't you afford to put gas in your car? What is this all about? And we have those ideas, and we have to promote them as much as we can, and watch the state, the empire, collapse in a spectacular decline. And hopefully they can do it peacefully and quietly, and go off into the sunset of failed things in the dustbin of history. But like I said, I'm incredibly optimistic of what we're going through here.
I actually agree. I'm very optimistic, even though 99% of everything you hear out of my mouth is how terrible it is.
Yeah.
I am kind of an opportunist, though. And if at any point in time the Libertarian Party has a shot, it's now.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now's the time.
So,
now or never.
Like, I mean, I'm gonna take it, regardless of the outcome.
Yep.
I got involved with my state affiliate, organized a county affiliate, and
Excellent.
of course, not everyone has to do everything. Go knock doors, or just do whatever you can. However, you need to do something, or get out of the way.
Yep.
As far as the opposition inside the party, I'm not gonna beg them to stay. So if you want to go, there's the door.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
do stay, though, I will gladly put aside whatever nonsense opinion I have. Hopefully, you'll do the same, and let's actually just do something. That's way more important to me. We can argue about things later, and trust me, we will. But now is not the time.
Right.
Um,
Fortunately, at least for us here, they've all been removing themselves, which is great because we none of us want to deal with that. None of us want to be assholes. But if you're going to be counterproductive, then please just go away.
well, and don't come back later acting like you didn't leave.
Right. Right.
But for the people that are a little bit more unfamiliar, what kind of platform are you running on? What are the big issues for you?
Well, I mean, right now the two biggest issues I think are the mandates, the COVID tyranny. Like this can't be allowed to happen again. This can't be dumped into the memory hole. This has to be remembered of what happened, and that the state committed these atrocities, these vast overreaches of his authority. Pennsylvania was particularly terrible. Pennsylvania is one of the states where they ordered the sick patients to be sent to nursing homes, which resulted in the death of untold elderly individuals. And this can't be allowed to go on. And I really think that there should be some sort of investigation, and there should be some sort of accountability, paid for this. And then the other big thing is the defend the guard, and how much we're facing right now, and people don't seem to really grasp or understand that, or doesn't seem to be made as big of a deal as it is, that these psychopaths are trying to provoke war with a substantial military threat. The United States is not capable of going to war with Russia or China. It's definitely not both of them. And this idea that we can fight or defend Ukraine or Taiwan or anyone else is insane. And it's at a state level in the state of Pennsylvania. Most we can do to defend ourselves from these foreign policy abortion of policies is nullification, right? And specifically with defend the guard, everyone's familiar with it, but it's this idea where you pass a law where it would require that there needs to be an official declaration of war by the United States Congress before the state of Pennsylvania can put their guardsmen into federal service. So when when I was in the National Guard and a number of years before then, a number of years after that, there was a situation where we had the quote unquote war on terror, and guys were being sent into Iraq and Afghanistan and numerous other countries in the Middle East and Africa to support some mission or another. And we have these guys be deployed every 3 years or more, and it's awful. When you're promised, you're a young guy, maybe like 18, 19 years old. You got a girl pregnant, and you want to provide for your family. So what do? You go and you sign up for the military. You try to do the right thing. You try to be a man with a sense of duty and a sense of honor. Sorry. So they go up the National Guard. They go, hey, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. We'll help you pay for college, yada yada yada. And then they get stuck in this contract where they're getting deployed every few years, and they're getting psychologically tortured, both during deployment, and also the harms it causes their families. Their girlfriends leave them or whatever else, and it's atrocious having seen it firsthand. And this can't happen again. And it kills me when people talk about things like war, and it's like, you don't understand the costs of this. You've never seen this, or don't appreciate, like, oh yeah, only a couple of thousand soldiers died, no big deal. But the cost of it is far, far greater to American lives, and not to mention the lives of all the foreign men, women, and children who were slaughtered by U.S. operations. So at the very least, the most we can do here as a governor in Pennsylvania is to stop, or help stop, sending any more Pennsylvanians, boys and girls, to do the same and have the same fate come upon them. They want to sign up to serve their community. We can have a debate or argument about whether the National Guard should be a thing at all, but at the very least, for the time being, they should not be forced to be sent overseas for some other political whims of some other psychopaths in DC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of little things here and there that are pretty important. Just general idea of nullification, federal nullification. The gun laws. I think the ATF should fuck right off. I don't think the state of Pennsylvania or any state should comply or provide any aid or comfort to the ATF or any other federal agency. And also things like ideas like jury nullification and is a very powerful message that needs to be pushed. People are concerned about we need to change this law and that law and this law and that law when it comes to things like drug war and other vices, things like that. But all you need to do really is you need to enforce jury nullification, because once if you're being judged by your community, and your community is being told to judge not just your actions, but also the law which is being applied to you, and let them decide if that law is right and that law is just. That undermines the power of the state in enormous ways, untold ways. So
you want to give the rundown on the libertarian idea behind the victimless crime?
Oh yeah, well, so there is no such thing as a victimless crime, because only crimes are the ones that involve the harming of other people or their property. So the traditional libertarian messages, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff, which is the non-aggression principle. Or what I like better is this idea of self-ownership. So you own yourself, you own your own body, you own the produce, the products of your labor. And if you own your body and you want to go and use your body to provide sexual favors for money, that should be your choice. That's your body to sell and do with as you please. It's not for someone else to do, and to tell you what you can or cannot do with it. And the same thing with drugs. If you want to put drugs in your body, that is your body. It's not for anyone else to tell you what drugs you can or cannot put in your body. It's certainly not someone else's to tell you what drugs you must put in your body. So it's anything else is just anything else other than in total self-ownership is takes you down a very slippery slope of not owning yourself, and we can all see where that goes.
But I mean, don't we all sign a social contract? We all have to live with each other, so we're all going to have needs, and we should love each other and take care of each other.
We should, but we should do so voluntarily. It's it's not you can't love each other and provide love and comfort to each other by holding a gun to someone's head. Holding a gun to someone's head and telling them that you have to pay taxes so to help the poor. That's not compassion. That's not love. That's thuggery. That's usually baseless or empty acts of compassion that really meant just as an excuse to rob you and to threaten you and to grow state power.
But if people don't have access to healthcare, then how are we going to take care of anything?
Well, funny thing about people is, we are a very empathetic bunch, and people don't like seeing other people in pain and suffering. That's why these arguments work so well. That's why politicians are able to use these arguments. People, they don't want to see this pain and suffering. It pulls at their heartstrings, if nothing else, from a sense of what if it happens to them. So you don't need to have this big government force coming in there and forcibly taking money from people to allegedly give it to other people. In reality, that's not what they're doing. They don't actually give a flying shit about anything. They just want it as an excuse for power. They want it as an excuse to be able to rob you and to take that which is yours under the guise of, hey, I'm helping this guy over here. In reality, they might be throwing some table scraps to that guy over there, but mostly it's all just to pocket the money and to take the power for themselves.
So, I mean, one thing that I've noticed with pretty much everyone, it's just a matter of what you find the most important right now. Um, I personally disagree with a lot of people that the social issues are the number one top priority. I do think a lot of these are issues and they do need to be addressed. I personally see a much bigger enemy who views us all as their toys to be able to do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, a lot of these social issues aren't going to matter because none of us matter to them.
Right.
None of,
A lot of these social issues are really just being used as tools, as a
Yeah.
distraction to make you feel, ooh, I can't not do that.
which are usually the first people to get cut off the vine.
Yeah.
You know. So if you had the ability to just walk into office tomorrow, what's the first thing you're gonna do?
Oof. Well, Well, first, we're going to start firing a lot of people because I don't think we need to be creating jobs with the state, if you know what I mean. I mean, really, it's can't say there's maybe one thing in particular because it's a major change or a radical change in how the state functions and state operates. I see things more of like a high level meta plan. Like I'm not a communist. I don't have these plans of how exactly what I'm going to specifically do here and there and do this and this and this. But generally, my goal would be to just change the strategy. What are the purposes? What is the purpose of the state of Pennsylvania? And in my mind, the purpose of the state of Pennsylvania should be to defend the people of Pennsylvania from the federal government, and that should be it. It should be to keep the people safe from the overreaches of the federal government and not to dictate how the people of Pennsylvania run their lives. Maybe go a little further and also, protect the people from their own, county and city governments. Things like, preventing, vaccine mandates, for example. Some might say that's not very libertarian to use state force for such things, but in my mind, that's we're living in a time when things are a little not clear cut and not so simple. And if we have actors of the state at any level that are abusing individuals and abusing their authority, I mean, I think it is there's a duty to protect others from the overreaches of a state at any level, whether it be county or city or state or federal government. So by and large, the first thing I'd do would be to totally revamp what the governor's office does, and what their enforcement actions are and priorities are, and to that end, we're not going to be working with the federal government to do their tyranny. We're going to be stopping them.
So one thing that's always kind of confused me personally is people, I mean, obviously not every single person in the government is just a terrible person. Not everyone's part of the old guard. But, one bad apple spoils the bunch and you get painted with the same paintbrush. And there's, two, I just lost the word. Two examples of how the English language is so crazy. But what's confusing to me is that the statists will come in and say, well, let's just pass a law to stop doing that. Why do you believe that people think that this is going to work when there's over 200 years of it not working?
Right. Yeah. This is a prime example of this today is, with the right and their obsession with the CRT. Like there's a push, like they all right now in the Republican primaries, the Republicans are all pushing this, like, we want to ban CRT in our schools. And it's like, guys, You know, I appreciate the sentiment and all, but that's not going to fix anything. That's not going to solve the problem. That's like putting a Band-Aid on a gangrenous wound. You know, it's like it might cover it up. It might make it look okay for a little bit, but it doesn't fix the problem. You know, the solution to any of these problems is to remove the state from the equation. And, you know, things like schools, you know, maybe push for school choice instead. That would be much more effective than just, you know, micromanaging, like banning one little piece here, one little piece there. There's no amount of, I said, no amount of no amount of writing on a piece of paper is going to make government work well, or, you know, work more efficiently or less authoritarianly. It's, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all just, you know, words on a piece of paper, and it's a gentleman's agreement. So, you know, if you unless you take the state out, then it's always going to devolve into things that we don't want it to be.
Yeah, pretty much. It's fine if the first couple of people that have that authority, that ability, are good people and they don't abuse it. But somewhere down the line, I feel like somebody's going to abuse it. So we have to be very careful when we introduce the monopoly on force to the equation.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't like, well, the one thing, the many things, but the one that just sticks in my craw more than anything with statists, communists, and then this goes in the party, outside the party, it doesn't matter, is that every single one of these people can live in the world I want. I can't live in theirs.
Right.
As much as I don't like them, I'll gladly fight for them and their ability to leave me out of it. You know?
And they'll put you up against the wall and kill you.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation on a leftist podcast, and there was a couple of Leninist Marxists, and they just flat out admitted to it. And they said, yep, anyone who disagrees is going up against the wall. And I was like, you know what? I at least appreciate the honesty. You know, we can have a conversation if you're honest. If you're just going to lie about, no, that's not what we're going to do. Yeah, we can't have, it's not going to go anywhere. So that does lead me to, why do you think there's been such an attraction to a lot of these ideas that were so just disgusting in this country for so long? You know, Bernie Sanders had tons of young people going to his rallies, tons of libertarians too. It didn't make sense to me at the time. That's when I thought the liberty movement was dead. So what do you think is behind that draw to these terrible ideas? Why do people like them so much?
Well, I mean, you can get into the deeper philosophical talk of you know, what the left is, and you know, what makes people on the left, and the motivations of the left. You know, basically, you know, Uncle Ted's you know, famous work goes in that. But you know, more in this specific context, I think a lot of it is we have, you know, people who are raised in this education system, you know, not taught to critically think. They're not taught to use their brains in any way. You know, everything is taught as you know, education is memorizing and repeating. So people don't have this natural tendency that a lot of libertarians do, is of being able to deduce information, to deduce knowledge on our own, to be able to you know, cause and effect, this sense of logic. It's not there in many people today. So these people sense there's something wrong, that there's something bad going on, and they're right. They're absolutely correct. They just don't know what it is. They don't have the capacity or the tools or the knowledge to understand what it is. So when you have these populist candidates, whether it be Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump, they can tap into that sense and that feeling, and they can exploit that. So these people, they makes them feel right, makes them feel like, yeah, this makes more sense, which I really can't blame them. I mean, I have more respect for someone who likes Bernie Sanders than someone who likes Nancy Pelosi, for example. Um, but at the end of the day, though, that this thing that this person that they're following is a false idol, right there. This is not this person not leading them to liberty, is not leading to salvation. They're leading them to their further demise. But when you're told all these great and wonderful things, when you're suffering and when you've been led astray your entire life, it's easily to be deceived and manipulated and used. The question is, how many of these people are people, as in people like Bernie Sanders, these people on the left, or even in some degree on the right as well, who are promoting or trying to attract people with this populist message. How much of it is legitimate, and how much of it is intentional, like psychopathy? It's like narcissist manipulation of the weak, which is, I think, a good portion of the left, especially, is this concerted effort to exploit people's weakness and make them feel wanted and needed and important and part of this social collective. All they need to do is hate the other guy. So I think that's a big part of it. And how do we fix that? I mean, it's hard to say if this is a core part of human nature, or if this is the result of so poor school system or indoctrination system that we've been brought up with, and whether that being changed will fix that. And I'm optimistic that it will. People are taught to critically think and critically use their brain, that they will start rejecting these ideas and understanding them for what they are. As we've seen in much of, like, say, Eastern Europe, all these ideas will be rejected because people are like, no. We've been through this. We've seen this. We know how this goes. So, like I said, I'm kind of optimistic, but we shall see.
Well, and I think ultimately the ability to opt out is of the utmost importance.
That's it's the only solution, really. I mean, that's the only real solution.
Yeah. Fine. The government can continue to compete in the education market. I have no issue with that. But they're going to compete with a free market. And if they provide a good service, then I guess they'll win out. Good service, cheap price. But all I know ultimately is that what we're doing has not worked. It is not going to work if we keep doing it. It's only going to get worse. So pretty much, is this the, I know we kind of said something about this earlier, but this is the moment now. This is really the difference in our lifetime between liberty and complete and utter slavery.
Yeah. Now's the time to fight.
Yeah. Metaphorically, Susan, right, on YouTube.
Yeah.
And in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, the peaceful solution is always number one.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants a violent solution, and it's our only strategy is a peaceful solution, right? The only way it comes to violence is if the state refuses to be peaceful. The state is the one who initiates the violence, and that's the only time there would be violence.
Well, so I was having a very honest conversation with somebody recently, and I made the argument that, even if things did go that way, it's not going to work out in our favor. We just got to outsmart them. And
right.
I will say, obviously I'm Mises and everything, but I will keep my biases aside on this particular comment, that we have amazing people out of the caucus, no caucus people everywhere, all over the country, some places all over the world.
Yes.
I know great people there were great people on both sides. But I just really hope that everyone can just set this aside for now. Doesn't stop me from having my biases. However, I'm not the one telling people to leave or to be a certain way. So where do you ultimately see this heading if this doesn't happen?
You mean as far as the
liberty movement? If we can't end up winning this?
Well, I mean, honestly, I haven't really even thought about that, because I kind of take it as a given, to be honest. I think that the state, or the authoritarian tendencies of the state, the level of effort and they've had to put into their maintaining their control and their power has gotten increasingly absurd, and it's only going to continue. So they're just to the point where they're a complete and utter joke, and it's kind of this idea of like entropy, right? They put all this effort into keeping sand on the beach in nice little neat little piles, but over time the tendency is to be to greater entropy. Everything's to spread out to that attempts of artificial or forced organization are never sustainable and never maintainable. So over time the tendency is always going to be towards greater liberty, even though on the short time scales we might see tendencies towards greater authority, but it gets, as time goes on, it's diminishing returns. The cost of maintaining that authority gets greater and greater and greater, and it's only a matter of time before that is no longer sustainable. And I think we are quickly approaching that point. At some point that they're not going to be able to keep their indoctrination machine, their propaganda machine, functioning at a high enough level to keep the masses at bay. And all it's going to take is people to say, "Yeah, fuck off." So, we may not win it this round, but it's in my mind, it's an inevitability. It's either that or the human race gets wiped off the face of the earth. But like I said,
Yeah.
I'm quite optimistic, and I can't see it another way. I'm hoping that we'll get this liberty in our lifetime type thing, but at some point, if not, then at some point in a generation or two, we will see it. But like I said, I'm doing this for the long run. I'm doing this for human civilization. I'm doing this for my children and my children's children. And I think that's we have to look at. We have to look at the end game. Look at the potential goal, and not get too caught down into what's threatening us right this moment. Just keep your heads high and just plow forward.
And honestly, I don't think you could have gave a better answer to that particular question. So that was great. That was awesome. I think we're going to wrap up here. But there is one question I always try to ask everybody, just because one of the reasons I started this show. Of course, we've covered a lot of pretty broad topics and everything, and this isn't any better. So be prepared for that. But I view everyone has a different outlook on this question. And so why is liberty important?
Oof, that's a rough one. Well, I mean, I think it's the only path, or the best path to greater human prosperity and happiness. Like, humans are naturally, we're social creatures. We like to do things, we like to have things our own way, like to be in control of our own destiny. And without liberty, you can't have that. We can't have greater happiness. And we can't without that, we can't have greater prosperity. So if we want to succeed as a species, or as a civilization, the only way to do that is through greater liberty. And that we must overcome that urge to want to micromanage others and try to think that we can with our little pea brains, that we can micromanage and plan out society and how society will work, and we can calculate and manipulate these things with our little plans. But we can't, and we need to accept that. And the sooner we do, the more we'll flourish, the more we'll prosper, and the better off everyone will be.
Word. Yeah, that's great. Honestly. Let everyone know what you've got coming up, where you're going to be, where they can find you.
Well, let's see. We just had some events this past weekend. Top of my head, I'm not sure we have coming up next. We're still a little ramping the speed because it's not too many people are checking in on the gubernatorial politics quite yet. But you can find me and keep track of me on at matthackenberg.com. It's my website. You can also follow me on Twitter at Matt Hackenberg or Facebook at Matt Hackenberg PA. And you can see what's going on with following upcoming events and coming meet and greets and so on and so forth. You can join if you live in PA, or even if you don't, you can come join us and offer to your help and your support. We need as much help we can, whether it be financial support if you want to donate money, or you want to come volunteer for the campaign. We need to collect signatures for not just my campaign, but for all the campaigns. All 50 plus people running for office in the state of Pennsylvania. So anyone can provide any kind of support, with financial, voluntary. It's great, huge. And that's and we'll keep everyone updated about what events are coming, and we'll go from there.
Word. That's awesome. Honestly, I'm so excited because things here in my state, in the state of Utah, it's just getting started, man. Everyone's fired up.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about the in-party fighting, and if anyone who's not libertarian has made it to this point, most of it's dying out.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares anymore.
It's irrelevant.
It's a tiny minority. The ones that are still standing, that are still talking about actually doing things, like everyone right now is excited to get to Reno.
Yep.
That's it. And hang out and meet everyone that they've met over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly been the most important part.
We have campaigns to run now. All right. We have things to do. We have to actually do what we're here to do. And no one, the LPPA, but we don't have time. We don't have time for these children. And so all the infighting it's irrelevant, just ignoring them. And we're going on to doing fun and exciting things. And it's great. It's really great. And if anyone's ever had any inkling of getting involved in the politics and actually doing something and joining the fight and fighting for liberty, now is the time of join your state party, join your county affiliate, and get going. Get off the couch and get going. It's a perfect time to do it.
Yeah, it's the only time to do it. It's not going to get any better unless we make it better, and this is the best way to make it better.
Right.
So, hopefully whoever's watching this in the future, things work out. So, but we had fun along the way, and honestly, good luck on your race. I'd like to get you back on, get an update, and
absolutely. It's good talking to you.
You as well.
Appreciate having
you heading to Reno?
Oh, yeah, I will be there. We are
all right. Well,
going to be driving down there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
Yes, we are.
Cool, dude. Thanks for coming on, and I'll reach back out. We'll get you back on soon.
All right.
And everyone else watching, make sure to go to risetoliberty.com/link, where you can find pretty much everywhere we are, including the store. Got a couple of t-shirts. Follow the Twitter before that gets banned, or it's probably throttled. You probably won't get notified anyways. But all right, and we're gonna be out. So stay free, my friends.